Okay, greetings and peace, everyone. Greetings. Welcome to the Committed Relationships and Spiritual Activity YouTube channel show. I am your host, Neo, and I'm here to share some info with the people. And here's another episode. In this episode, I am speaking about what I call the societal matrix. Societal matrix is my definition from my years of completing my personal development process, and the personal development process from my standpoint includes self-contemplation, which means self-reflection, self-analysis, and also self-development. Self-contemplation is really sitting down and contemplating, which is reflecting on yourself, thinking about your life, the people, places, and things in it, including your family. And that's one of the first things you want to start is to start reflecting on your family, examining them and analyzing them. That is one of the first things. That is the first thing that I did in my personal development process, is to study my family, analyze them, and really see what's going on and what was transferred to me, including the societal beliefs and the DNA beliefs, because we have genetics that programs us to believe certain things that our parents and our family in general believes. So overall, that's a great place to start regarding your personal development process. Actually, you need to start there, because that will help you analyze where your unresolved issues came from. So this is years of me also studying life. So with my personal development process, I also studied life, because it allows me to see what has been going on throughout years that programs people to behave a certain way. So my definition of the coined term of the societal matrix is, it is the system that we live in, which is just like the movie The Matrix, the system that we live in that contains everything that society wants us to. It's the system of things that we live in that includes the media, the politics, the religion, and the media includes the TV, the radio, the magazines, and maybe some other things also. So you got religion, you have politics, you have also the public schooling system. Those are the top major things that are part of this societal matrix. And this societal matrix's major goal is to keep people in their ego consciousness, which is the lower consciousness. And I plan on doing another recording speaking about that. That's another psychological trap. So it wants to keep people on a low psychological level, which is pretty much a immature, childlike level. And that's why I say in my previous video that a lot of people are still psychological children, regardless of how much social status, financial status they have. They still are psychological children unless they have transitioned outside of their ego mode and they have done quite a bit of personal development throughout their personal development process, and they have completed a lot of resolving their unresolved issues. If people have not done all of those things, then they're less likely psychologically a mature adult. And that's why I tell people that you can have more material possessions than other people, but the ones with the least material possessions might actually be much more mature than the one that has all of the material possessions and still seeking out more material possessions and more social popularity. Because that is one thing that this societal matrix wants people to do, is to seek out things like that. So let me give you some of the top things that it gets people to be obsessed with. The number one thing that this societal matrix has people doing is being trapped in materialism. It makes people believe that the more material possessions that they obtain, the more higher their social status they have. Let me see what else. The material possessions, that includes financial success, regardless if it's their own business or they have a good job that's paying them well, that allows them to have all the cars, the nice house, the money in the bank, money in their pocket, and a variety of other things. Let me see what else. What else is another trap that they give out? Also the religious trap. It also gets people in the religious trap thinking that they have to be in one religion and that one religion is better than everybody else's religion. And if you really think about it, every religion that a person is in, every religion believes that their religion is the best and that everybody should be in it, and that everybody who's not in it is below them. Just really think about how a lot of people really behave like that, those who are in religions. There's very few people who are still humble and who respect other people's religion while they are in the religion themselves. Like you can check out, like me, I was brought up into the Jehovah's Witness religion, and I'm so happy that I jumped out of that. And that took a decent amount of confidence in myself to be able to move outside of it, because I was coming into higher spiritual consciousness at the age of 19, and especially after realizing all of the hard work that I was putting into it. And then I was remembering trying to get baptized, and you have to have a certain consistent hours of field service. Field service is, you go and knock on the door and you do a variety of other things, and you're supposed to keep a record of it. So at that time I was supposed to get 20 hours for 1 month, and then I presented only 19. And then the elder, he came to me and told me, hey, you missed the hour. You can't get baptized. I was like, hold up, wait. And then that was the start of that made me realize, like, yo, something is not right with this religion, which I already knew it from like the age of 16 to 19. But that was one thing that made me realize that, come on now, 1 hour, this dude could have talked to somebody and said, look, let him go. He worked hard for this. But I speak about that. I think I still have the Jehovah's Witness video up, so you can go back and check that in my previous videos. It's way back, probably after the 3rd page. I think I still kept that up, but anyways, you can check that out. So those are the top major things that the system gets people trapped in. This societal matrix gets people trapped in. And if you look at the movie, it gets people trapped in just the illusionary world, just materialism. Like the guy Cypher, he said, I want to be an actor. No one really that important but an actor. And he just wanted to live decently. And a lot of people who want to be actors and actresses, whether they realize it or not, and this is not everybody, but whether they realize it or not, a lot of people, it's because of their ego. They want that social status, the higher social status. They want that financial success, if they can even get it. And they want to be in the public's eye. That's what the ego wants. And I'll go into more detail about that in the ego trap. The ego trap that I mentioned in my next video that I plan on doing right after this one. Hopefully I can get to it. That's my intention. So this system of things, if a person is unconscious, which most people are, of what's going on within this system and how it's keeping people psychologically trapped in the various psychological traps. And if you want to know more about what psychological traps that are out there, you can go to my homepage of this YouTube channel, Committed Relationships and Spiritual Activity YouTube channel, and click on the playlist section, and you will be able to see my previous psychological traps that I've mentioned, that I've identified and analyzed for myself, that I also have gotten myself outside of. So, and that's what allowed me to be able to see what's going on with people, and also analyzing other people and examining them, especially my family. So you can check those other psychological traps. But I would say the top ones that really gets people crazy and very difficult for them to detach from is the materialism. They love buying things. It gets people obsessed with consumerism, especially with that goddamn TV. That TV is society's largest and most effective mechanism that they utilize to program people's mind and to keep them trapped from reaching higher spiritual consciousness. The whole purpose coming into this realm is to remain, is to get back into spiritual consciousness. And I'll mention that in my next video, the ego trap video. All right, so what else is there to mention about this societal matrix? And also what it is this societal matrix is definitely not the end all be all. Just as I think it was Jesus said in the Bible, or somewhere in the Bible, it said, be in the world, but not of the world. Most people who are trapped in ego mode, their ego consciousness, they are of the world. They're obsessed with it. They're psychologically and emotionally obsessed with it, to the point where some people, when they lose their job, they don't have that financial success as they wanted, and they can't get that car, that vehicle that they wanted, or anything that's really of material possession, and really just dealing with the ego, just trying to get something to make them feel better as a human. That is what the societal matrix wants to keep people trapped into. And it drives people nuts. They are so attached to that, to where some of them actually will want to commit suicide because of some sort of material possession that they can't get, or even if they lost their job. And it makes people think that this societal matrix is the end all be all. So that's why people really have to wake up out of this stuff and prevent themselves from getting too attached into these psychological traps. And that materialism is crazy. It's a drug. It really, really is. I remember when I was working downtown as a male clerk, and I was making some serious good money, and I was hanging out with a friend of mine who was in the same, who was in the same congregation as I was when I was in the Jehovah's Witness congregation. And every time I would hang with him, which he was highly materialistic, regardless of him being inside the Jehovah's Witness religion, because the Jehovah's Witnesses, they teach to avoid materialism. But from my experience being inside that religion, they still have a lot of people who are obsessed with materialism, and that is keeping them locked in their ego. And there's still a lot of people who are in their ego consciousness in the Jehovah's Witness religion. And the way that they have structured the religion, which that religion is still a cult and is still a part of the societal matrix. So it's not a higher consciousness type of religion. Based on me actually examining and analyzing it, what's going on, and also analyzing this societal matrix. So with the way that they have the outside world thinking that that this religion is the best religion to be in, and that everything's happy-go-lucky, and that people aren't materialistic like the so-called worldly people, they call people of the outside world who are outside of the religion, they call them worldly people, when in actuality they are still worldly also. If you really sit down and pay attention and you get to see people, how they really react when most people are not looking, how they behave, and how they behave, and especially if you are intuitive, you'll realize that a lot of them are not much different from the so-called worldly people who are outside of the religion. That's what I certainly have to say, and I might go into detail in another video exposing what goes on in the Jehovah's Witness religion. It's not a perfect religion at all, as some people believe, but it's definitely not. Let's see here. What else do I want to explain? So overall, the societal matrix, it makes people in general, and it made me at one time when I was in the zombie mode, psychological zombie mode, aka ego consciousness. It makes people believe that it's the end all be all as the way to live, and that the way that they show how to live on TV and have everybody else living, it makes people believe that you have to live that way. Like, let me see, how can I give you an example? I'm gonna give you a perfect example. It makes people believe that people who do not have vehicles, that they aren't as good as the people who have a vehicle. When at the same time, maybe some people do not want a vehicle and they don't feel that it's necessary to own one. And on top of that, if you really sit down and contemplate, and this is me, I'm one of the people who I'm relaxed about not having a vehicle. And I sat down and I did my own contemplation and really examined what's going on. And there's so much that people have to deal with when they do have a vehicle, and especially if they decide to have more than one. It's ridiculous because the societal matrix adds even more things to having a vehicle. So it creates even another psychological trap that people get caught up in. And when I see these people being so obsessed with going out to obtain a car, it is ridiculous. And a lot of them do not even know what they're about to get involved in, including that they're still in their ego consciousness. So that's going to keep them even more anxious, and it's going to drain their energy just obtaining it, let alone actually maintaining it, let alone actually seeking to obtain it. So some people, they go all out, and they'll even work them extra long hours just to get that one vehicle that they probably don't even need if they sit down and really analyze it. But they want to walk around thinking that because they got a car that they're an adult. Go check out some of my previous videos telling you that material possessions do not make people an adult. It is the mind, the psychological maturity that is necessary to qualify an individual as a mature adult. A 14-year-old can be a much more psychological mature adult who doesn't even know how to drive, who doesn't own a vehicle, and who doesn't even own a cell phone, can be much more psychologically mature than a 30, 40, 50, and 60-year-old who has all of those material possessions, but they're still psychologically immature. My mother and a lot of my family members is a good example. And I'm studying them, as I said, you guys study your family, and me completing my personal development process for myself on my own, I really see the major difference. And it's like you can't try to speak to your family about starting a personal development process because they still are in their ego consciousness. So they're going to just reject your higher consciousness information. So that's why you got to be very, very careful when you're dealing with people who are still in their ego consciousness. And I'm gonna go into detail with that one. So check out for that video, the ego consciousness. Check out for that. Start spending more time by yourself so that you can really, and also in public, just sitting down, just observing people and observe your family and watch how much obsessed people are. You can even go to a Walmart, go to the malls, and just sit back and listen to people speak about obtaining whatever it is they're seeking to buy. The societal matrix has people in sleep mode, having them being highly advanced consumers. Consumers. You'll definitely check that out. So when you do that, then start to do reflection on how much of a consumer you are and how being consuming actually is making you more anxious and unnecessarily anxious in your life, and start considering starting to gradually cut back on consuming, because it literally, consumerism consumes people's psychological and physical energy. It literally does, and it drives them nuts, and it could actually drive, and does actually drive people into a depression. So that's one of the things that it does too. And that TV, I'm telling you, that TV provides you a perception into your mind subliminally that consuming is a good thing to do, and it gets you to consume even more in a extremely unhealthy way. Go check out the movie They Live and check out all of those subliminals when you put on those glasses. It says obey authority. It says consume. You'll see those signs. Go check out the trailer if you have not seen that yet. The movie is titled They Live. It's a 1988 or 1980 movie that is a great example of the societal matrix. Definitely check that out if you are serious about learning more about the societal matrix that your consciousness, all of our consciousness lives in. And the higher your consciousness is, the more you can be able to avoid these psychological traps. And that's what allowed me to be able to identify and explain these psychological traps here on YouTube, because I was able to wake up and start doing my personal development process to detach from these psychological traps. So check those things out. My psychological trap YouTube channel, YouTube videos, recordings, and also the movie They Live. The trailer first, then go see the movie. All right, so I'm going to close it out right here. Like, comment, share, and subscribe. When you hit the subscribe button, make sure that you hit the bell button so that you can get email updates of whenever I update a new video here on YouTube, my YouTube channel. And you want to subscribe, certainly, if you want to hear more information like this, and especially information regarding relationships. You can also email me at CommittedRelationships@gmail.com. I am also newly on Instagram at CommittedRelationships101. That's all one word. And check the links in my description here